too.
I was in a really cool band called Toy Matinee. This was Pat Leonard's art project after producing and writing dozens of songs for Madonna and other artists like Brian Ferry. He was a very busy producer. He wrote the music. He got Kevin Gilbert, Guy Pratt, Brian MacLeod, and myself to help him finish it. We cut it live off the floor. We were a real band. Bill Bottrell produced it and engineered it. At the time, I knew it would be one of the best things I would ever do, and indeed it has been. I'm going to roll through some of the guitar parts. We're going to talk to everybody. This is a very important story for me to tell. Click the link below for the online masterclass.
I think at that point I had made 4 Madonna records. I had to do something as far away from making that stuff and more towards making the Squeedo stuff as I possibly could. I swear to God. And the other thing that happened, and this is a true story, is Mo Austin called me at home and said, after Like a Prayer came out, and he said, "You made Warner Brothers about $500 million this year. What would you like? Would you like an office? What would you like?" And I said, I just want to make a record. I just want to make a record. It's the Joker from the Batman movie says, "I just want my phone call."
Like a Prayer, the outro is basically Weather Report. So you were already...
Yeah. Yeah, no, I always felt like we were sneaking a lot of stuff by people, I always considered Cherish basically Steely Dan, and we had Jeff playing a shuffle, and you know what I mean? I even did a little kind of harmonica solo on my Oberheim that she insisted on turning down.
I certainly, what's amazing is I basically everything I came up with and recorded was done hungover. No, because I was never drunk or high in the studio, but I was every night afterwards. It was nuts, really. I could have done with an intervention probably, but because I do remember there was one day you all actually came up and stuck my guitar amp next to my head, and I think you hit a massive Townsend A chord and woke me up.
Do you remember that we took an amp to his house while he was sleeping? Do you remember this? Because we did. And we put the amp next to his head, and you started doing this, and he didn't move. He didn't. I was a little worried for a minute. He didn't move. And then he went, fuck, He didn't move.
I remember opening the door to his rental car. The first thing that popped into my head, this is not a car. This is an ashtray. The whole car was an ashtray.
I had no idea that the derelicts I was working with at the time. I really didn't.
Me included.
I remember recording the song Toy Matinee for a couple days, and I remember believing fully that I probably played it perfectly the first time I played it, and Bill just kept making us play it and making us play it and making us play it until I don't think I've ever felt so angry in a studio in my life. It was like, why are we doing this? And then I listen all these years later, and I hear all of this pissed offness in my playing, and it's like, that's why he did it. He was waiting for it to come to life. And I've told people, look, you get a bunch of great musicians and make them play the same song for 2 days. By the end of the second day, you actually have something really important. Bill had just finished working with Michael. I had just finished Like a Prayer. We were sort of like, and now we're alone to do whatever we want for as long as it takes, for as much as it costs. That's a pretty privileged position to be in, I've not been in that position since. And so we were all there, and what came of it, I think it's one of the best sounding things anybody's ever done, truthfully, and that's Bill being Bill. Because when he can build, when Bill is able to build it from the ground up nothing sounds like what that guy can do. That's how I always felt about it, you know. Yeah.
Everybody talks about the way you make things sound, and every experience I've had with you has been to give you a sound, and you'll say, "Don't change a thing," and then you just make it better. And so that's kind of been running through this whole thing. But we don't have to talk about that.
Well, you want to talk about that?
I do.
That there, what you just said is the top line of my experience with Toy Matinee. The response at the time was too much about the sound, you know. I mean, it's a great album, and there's great music in there, and there's great playing, and there's great lyrics, and all that came with a lot of love put in there, and a lot of stress, and some bickering, and everything, and the sound, you know, I used to snap my fingers and do that, you know. It was like, geez, people, I'm trying to grow up out of this, you know. I don't care. So have this next record. It sounds like shit, okay? But it's great. It sold 10 million albums, you know. So
you are a singer and a songwriter, and you play your acoustic guitar and you write songs and lyrics. And so that's the main thing for you. I remember that.
Yeah.
So I have a photo of the missing man in this equation. Kevin Gilbert left us way too early at the age of 29. And although he's not in this video, he's here in my studio with me every day. Pat discovered him at a battle of the bands at the Universal Amphitheater here in LA.
I was sitting on a judging panel for a Yamaha contest. I don't remember what it was called. And it was at the Universal Amphitheater. I mean, it was a pretty big deal. And the panel was Quincy and, you know, all these, like, I don't know what I was doing there, but it was a bunch of kind of legends. And he, I don't remember if he won or not, but it was definitely the most impressive thing that happened all night. I mean, he was commanding and right dead on and very progressive. And, you know, I mean, to find somebody that young with that kind of progressive route, I was like, I want him, you know. And so, yeah, that, you know, he definitely was, well, you know how brilliant the guy was. He was a very clever guy.
Yeah. And it's a shame that he left us so early. He should have stayed around.
I agree. You had mentioned Queen of Misery, you know, that we played that. And you just listen even on the phone with the thing sitting and you hear it sounds so good. Like that's something I still do when I'm improvising and stuff, is that sort of staggered left hand, you know, it's a thing. And like to listen to it and go, no, we were in a room doing that. We did that. And it really doesn't sound like it, but we were that on, you know.
Bouncing off the walls, blind and dancing out in front, easy friends who will remain, looking for a home. She wonders who will have the queen alone. Every night the same. Another man, a dirty boy, takes a turn they both enjoy. Destiny unknown. He asks if he can take her highways home. She's looking for someone to give her love that I deny. Oh, some stranger's brief embrace to fill the emptiness inside. She's the queen of ecstasy. Oh.
you know, I was a little skeptical. Pat had, you know, put you guys together. You can't just you can't just, what is this? Hollywood? You know, fuck that. You can't do that, Pat. And he was sending me the demos and stuff. And I'm like, no. You guys, I don't know if it was in the pre-production, in the writing, or somehow, you know, you came out like a band. I mean, by the time I was there, It was like, yeah, well, you do this, you do this. This is awesome. Let's do it. Everybody, even the bickering, like a band, rock bands are awesome. Or should I use the past tense? They were the most awesome thing. And I certainly defined the majority of my life around that sort of concept. And you guys had one. You had a rock band.
I remember when I came down to actually do the record and everybody was in the room and we started playing. We sound like a band already. We've only played one song and everybody's character, I could hear it in the music, and everybody had something to bring to the table. Everybody, the bar was so high, yet it was not a problem to achieve what we did. And everybody was so tasteful. Everybody was just playing the right thing. And I think we wanted to make this record that was interesting but accessible too, like music we wanted to listen to. I think that was Pat's idea. It wasn't about showing off.
We cut that record live off the floor. Basically, most of what you hear was us playing together at once.
Yeah, but the thing is, unlike it, because what was so great was because we were working in a band format, it's just that thing of, rather than here's a chart, sit down and let's play it, and yeah, that feels good, let's do it. We were working on these things for weeks.
Yes.
For weeks and weeks and weeks, which is, because it's the amount of time, the trouble, you and I both have the same thing. When you're a session dog, how many times, and your whole vibe is you've got to be the quickest guy. That's what gets you the gig. We can get him because he'll be in and out.
That's right.
The annoying thing about that is the amount of time, you're in the car driving home going, oh, fuck, I could have gone. Oh, shit, what about, because
yeah.
That's why bands are so great. That's why they make amazing records, because they have fucking years to work the song out. I think it might have been the Ballad of Jenny Ledge, where it's still possibly the greatest compliment, backhanded compliment I've ever had from anyone in a studio. Where I had that mad line, da 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 da, bum 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 bum, da 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 dum 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 ba bum, and I just played it through once, and Bill hit stop and went, as if a bass player would play that.
Some of these things were just the first thing I played that day, and I went, oh, that's interesting, and and wrote it down. And then it wasn't even at a piano. It was just the thing of a ritual, and I still do the ritual, not as well as I used to, but I'm actually getting back to the discipline of it, where there's study involved and there's practice time involved, and then there's this moment of spontaneous something that has to do with a response to study and practice. Your fingers are doing something stronger than they were before, or some not necessarily new thing, but more discipline, something more discipline. And there's some new harmony or some new counterpoint thing. And I just look at little fragments I'll hear something and think, I don't know what that is. And I'm talking about, Schoenberg and Scriabin and Ravel. And I'm just looking for nuggets of something like, what is that relationship? And then I'll find it. And I'll tip it on its end so I know what it is. And then I'll study it in every key. And then it becomes another letter in the alphabet. And once there's enough of that, then I write for a while. And it reflects this stuff. And then I get dry and I get boring and I just hate it all and want to quit. And then I go back and do exercises and find something I don't know. And I've been doing it since I was about 7 years old that way, or 9 years old maybe. That's it. That's my process.
I used to sit in that reception room, with the big fish tank and everything. And you used to sit, and you were always practicing, and you were always doing. And I remember once I was like, probably half asleep, And you turned to me and you said, Guy, did you ever used to really practice a lot? I went, yeah, I did. Yeah, why? And you said, because you're really good. You can understand, because it's true. I mean, if we weren't actually doing something, I didn't have a bass on.
I remember you and Pat and Kevin sitting on the couch in the gym part, the workout room with all the, workout equipment.
Oh yeah, which now when I think about it, it's like, fuck, that was this amazing gym, which of course I wasn't going to use in a million years back then. And there was a trainer. There was literally a trainer. I could have been getting like $3,000 worth of training every week. Was I? Fuck, I was like, that was gyms. Now I'd be all over that shit.
Yeah, right. I mean, got to keep these things strong now. But I remember the three of you sitting on the couch just laughing as you wrote lyrics.
There's a line that goes, every little day store promise, right? Now that comes from whenever Pat used to go and scat vocals. Remember, he'd go and go, I've got a melody idea. And he'd just go and sing it. And in his scat sort of arsenal, he always said day store. Day store, day store, day store. And so I just said, we've got to get day store into a song. This is literally something that Pat says.
She will not wait your hand to indecision. She will not ever bend to show her care. Things she said, every other day's no promise. Things she said would leave me wanting, run to her and run from other things she said. Broke me down and left me shattered, hard as diamonds. It does not matter, won't remember the things she said.
There was a bit of a hitch with those intros and re-intros. What Gentle Giant song has that? I mean, I was stealing Gentle Giant,
Right.
which is odd because, in the meta thinking about the whole project, I considered it my job to deprog it. If you think of some of the more pretentious elements of prog, mostly I was deprogging all the time. And going for something broader. I was a huge prog fan at age 19, 20, 21. And then, being a Rolling Stone reader, I got a monthly head full of why prog is so stupid reading Rolling Stone. So with an open mind, you're like, well, why do so many people hate it? And then I'd read the things and I'm like, okay, silly lyrics, pretension and too many kings and too many acolytes of doom and things like that, So I knew you guys who, what Pat was saying ahead of time and stuff, and Kevin, and I was I had this side agenda of like, let's just not go too far in that direction, except the Gentle Giant riff. I don't know. It worked.
You made records with me. I was never very picky.
Oh, no.
No.
Like,
I knew what the part needed to be, but I knew that you were the guy to play it, not even know what the part is, what the concept was. And so I would just pretty much leave it be and maybe make a suggestion one way or another, but it wasn't like we need to do this again and do this again and do this again. Not my nature. So improvisation is a natural thing for me.
Feel so lonely. I could die.
Brian's playing, I think is really, really important. In the 90s, suddenly everyone became Ringo again. In the 80s, everyone wanted to be fucking Simon Phillips. And Brian was the first guy to do that. To do that guy of being the guy with all the chops, but knowing exactly when to be Ringo. You know what I mean? And in fact, and a lot of the, like, you were using a lot of clean, not so processed sounds. It was, you know, because the 90s all became that much more authentic sort of thing. And I think that album was a bridge from the big, you know, from the super posh, massive sounds that were fashionable at the time. You know, I think in that way, it was very important sonically. It'll always stand as one of, if not the greatest project I've ever been involved in, frankly.
So as sad as I am that we never got to play live with the original lineup of Toy Matinee, I'm very grateful for the opportunities it created, most notably Tuesday Night Music Club that I did with Bill Bottrell and Kevin Gilbert.
Everybody agrees that it was a turning point, a really positive launching pad in different ways for everybody. I mean, Guy Pratt went right back to being in his other band, Pink Floyd. And then Pat started working with his heroes, people like Roger Waters, Jeff Beck, Rod Stewart. And you and I got to work with him on that stuff too. So we kept working with Pat, and that was great. And then Bill even told me that Toy Matinee actually gave him the confidence to think of producing at a higher level. And he was able to apply that with Tuesday Music Club, which was just this huge success for all of you guys. And then for me, it gave me the confidence and the credibility to just become a full-time session guy. And so I was in heaven too.
It was quite the launching pad for sure. And then while I was on tour, you know, I'd turn on MTV and I think Leaving Las Vegas started playing all the time. And then Roland came to me and he goes, "Is that girl you did the record with?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Did you write some of those songs?" And I went, "Yeah." And he gave me this look like, because I'd never gotten publishing money. And he gave me this look like, oh crap, I may have to find a new drummer as soon as he gets his first royalty check.
Making this video, I was really struck by how much all of us really still love this record. So there's a rough cut right below. There's a link if you want to see more. There's a rough cut with 30 minutes of additional conversation with everybody.
The thing of improvising is where everything always came from for me. And it's what I love to do the best. And I love to feed myself something new and do improvisations. And in December, I sat in this theater, this empty theater with my Steinway D, which happens to be here, which is another story, but it's here. And set up some beautiful Sheps mics and a Millennia preamp and a Anubis converters and, 96K, like did whatever I felt sounded best and just played for the whole month. I'd go in and practice and then play and just play. Not anything I'd played before, but just improvise. But we're here in my hometown and we're held over. The house in LA is sold. We're just free right now. And we're looking for where we're going to go. But where we are right now is home, and we always come home, which is that's my lyric. That's where I am right now. The Diamond Drill is across the street from the theater. My dad was born in that house there by Daisy Mae Welsh. I mean, I'm home right now, and so believe me, the people in this town that are aware of that music, and there are quite a few, like to remind me. Saying, I guess we do always come home. It's like, well, I'm not staying, but it's interesting, so in a weird way, dreams or prophecy or whatever, I love my home. I mean, I love my home, and right now I'm sitting here talking to you and I can see 7 deer and one of them is 3 feet away from me right here. I mean, for real, here, look.